What's going on, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. An absolute shocker in the middle of the night. Carlos Correa is headed to the New York Mets after the deal with the Giants fell through. We're going to tell you how it's going to impact the Dodgers in just a second. But a quick reminder for all latest Dodgers news and rumors all offseason long. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comment section. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day. I want all your thoughts and reactions to what happened with Carlos Correa and the Giants and him ending up on the New York Mets. Will this be a good thing or a bad thing for the Dodgers? Do you think this could impact Shohei Ohtani next offseason? Let me know down below. And for all latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. In what has to be the most stunning and shocking development in baseball free agency history, Carlos Correa is now a New York Met after his deal with the Giants fell through. It was first reported by Jon Heyman, who tweeted out, "Breaking: Carlos Correa switches to Mets after Giants deal falls through." So let's all take a second to laugh at the San Francisco Giants. Somehow, some way, having coming into this offseason, wanting to spend so much money, wanting to get one of these big marquee free agents, they end up with nothing. Usually it's around August or September when their season is finished, and that is what SF stands for. Well, now their season really will never even begin, because if you look at this team now, they're bereft of the requisite talent to really make a run in the West. It's clear at this point they're going to be a third-place team at best. And if you look at this saga with Carlos Correa, a lot of it just does not make any sense whatsoever. The Giants look like an amateur organization in this debacle with Correa, and really it all started back when Correa agreed to that 13-year, $350 million deal with the Giants, and the Giants had a press conference scheduled for Tuesday to introduce their big off-season signing, but the Giants saw something they didn't like during the physical, which led them to postpone the press conference. So I don't know what it was. Maybe they saw some cheater in him. Maybe he didn't have that dog. Maybe he cracked his rib with another in-home massage or something. But whatever it was, they did not like it. And Jon Heyman already reported that it wasn't his back. And that's what a lot of people feared because of his history with the back injuries. But it turns out, and this is from Susan Slusser of the San Francisco Chronicle, that it was an injury that was before his playing days. So that is how far the Giants went back, and that nixed the deal. So what happened was the Giants said, hey, we want to go back and renegotiate this deal. Maybe they wanted to add some provisions to give themselves some protection within the contract, or maybe reduce the years or reduce the money, but that never took place. That never materialized, and what happened was Scott Boras, he pivoted and he got his client a 12-year, $315 million deal with Stephen Cohen and the Mets. So the Mets, they add another big name this offseason. We're going to talk about them in just a second, but we're going to focus right now on the San Francisco Giants team and what it means for the Dodgers, because first and foremost, if you're a Dodgers fan that wanted Carlos Correa, your biggest fear was that he would sign with the San Francisco Giants. And that is what I predicted, and that is what should have happened. But unfortunately, the Giants, they got cold feet. This is the biggest case of buyer's remorse in baseball history. And I think they felt, hey, we don't want to sign this guy who has this injury history. And I think they were looking for reasons to back out of that deal. And that is exactly what happened. So he doesn't end up in San Francisco. He won't be tormenting Dodger fans for 13 years. If you're a Dodger fan that was hoping to boo him for the next 13 years, well, you're going to do it, but now it's with the New York Mets. It won't be with the San Francisco Giants. But another way this impacts the Dodgers is, well, this Giants team, they are desperate to sign a free agent. They're absolutely desperate at this point when you consider the fact they swung and missed on Aaron Judge, or should I say Arson Judge, who they thought they had signed for 7 minutes when Jon Heyman pretty much falsely reported that back at the winter meetings. And then they also thought they had Carlos Correa in the bag for 7 days. Well, they don't get any of those guys. And then what do? They sign a Ross Stripling, a Mitch Haniger, a Sean Manaea, players that really aren't going to move the needle and turn them into contenders. So next offseason, presumably, they'll make a big run at Shohei Ohtani. And it is my belief that Shohei Ohtani wants to stay on the West Coast. It does make logical sense for him to sign with the San Francisco Giants, as as a team that, hey, they're going to have a lot of money to spend. They could throw close to $500 million at Ohtani if they're that desperate to try to lure a star. Another thing when you consider Shohei Ohtani, he's a very loyal guy. He might think to himself, hey, I don't want to disrespect the Angels by leaving that franchise and then go and signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So yeah, the fact that the Giants didn't end up signing Aaron Judge or Carlos Correa, that leaves them a lot of money to throw at Shohei Ohtani. But why would Ohtani want to leave the Angels? Well, because he won't contend. He won't win a World Series in Anaheim. What makes him think he has a better chance up in San Francisco, where you don't have a farm system that can bring you those players via trade, that can contribute like the Dodgers have? So I still think if it's about winning, I think the Dodgers make a lot more sense for Ohtani than San Francisco. But I also think it is okay to recognize the Giants as a threat for Shohei. And I think they're going to say, hey, that's pretty much the only way we can probably make up for this disaster of an offseason in 2022 if they can sign Ohtani in 2023. Because let's be honest, Farhan Zaidi, he's an overthinker. He's a guy that is a perfectionist, and I think that's what happened in this situation. I think they looked at it and they said, hey, there's only 3 players that have signed 10-year plus contracts that have gone on to win a World Series of the last 19 to sign similar deals. I think they realized that that is a contract that might not age well. I said that Carlos Correa in the last few years of that deal, you're probably going to be pushing him to first base in a wheelchair. He'll be collecting Social Security in the final years of those deals. But it's also a way of looking at it is deferred money essentially. And if you can get 5, 6, 7 really good years out of Carlos Correa and he can change your culture and help you win, it does make sense. But I think maybe the Giants said, hey, this doesn't make sense for this organization when you consider what we're trying to build here. Maybe they looked at their fans' reactions and they said, maybe this isn't the guy we thought he was. We know Aaron Judge, he would have been that guy. He would sell sponsorship. He would put butts in the seats and sell jerseys. Maybe they thought, hey, maybe Carlos Correa is not on that magnitude. But what we have learned after the fact is that the Giants still wanted to negotiate with Carlos Correa. So that tells you they still wanted him in San Francisco. But Scott Boras said, hey, we gave you time. They gave them over a week to review the medicals. And they said, hey, you snooze, you lose. I'm going to get my client a $300+ million deal. That is what he hired me to do. Now, from Scott Boras's perspective in all of this, I do find it very interesting because, look, the reality is you do lose your client money. You lose your client $35+ million another year. And maybe he says we don't want teams to explore the medicals and look at his physical issues if there are any. And they really signed a deal almost instantaneously after. So that is a little suspect. But then you also consider, too, maybe Carlos Correa wanted to be in New York. To me, New York made a lot more sense for Correa when you consider his personality, when you consider all the big egos on that Mets team. He definitely fits in well there. And I also think they're ready to win now. And this Giants team, I still think they're a few years away. So maybe it was a little bit of both. Maybe Carlos Correa wanted to back out of the deal. Maybe the Giants didn't feel comfortable with that $350 million contract, and they just both parted ways. Maybe the Giants wanted him on a 12-year, $315 million deal, but instead he said, okay, if you're not going to overpay for me and give me another year and more money, I'm going to go to New York where I can be a part of this big team in Flushing, Queens. So I think that's also a part that was in play. But I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is some lack of professionalism from the San Francisco Giants. I think when you consider these big-name free agents, especially ones that are represented by Scott Boras, this could potentially fracture their relationship and impact their ability to sign some of these big-name guys. Because ask yourself this question. If you're a big-name free agent out there in Major League Baseball, would you want to sign with the San Francisco Giants? Would you want to sign with an organization that you come to an agreement on a deal and then you look at the medicals and you're nixing the deal and you want to renegotiate after looking at an injury that occurred before your playing days? I don't think this is going to sit well with players around the league. So we'll see how this will impact future free agents and the Giants' inability to land them. Because let's be honest, Farhan Zaidi, he's done a pretty solid job putting together a roster that can win. We saw San Francisco win 107 games in 2021, but the Dodgers beat them in the NLDS. So really, that was a regular season team, in my opinion, not a team that was built to win a World Series. And at some point, you do need some of this top-end talent, and Zaidi has failed to get the Giants those kinds of players. So when it comes to the Dodgers, I think you're sitting back and you're just kind of laughing at all of this. I mean, you look at those Carlos Carlos Correa jerseys. They've gone from $300 to 3 cents on eBay. Here, we're going to take a second to watch Carlos Correa's highlights with the Giants. That's right. There were no highlights at all. He didn't even make it to the press conference. So I think for the Dodgers, too, the big question is you look at that deal, $315 million over 12 years. I mean, if the Dodgers jumped in there and said, hey, at that price, maybe we consider you as our shortstop for the next 4 or 5 seasons, then you slide over to the third base, maybe they would have jumped in. But I think you consider the fact they're trying to reset that CBT. If they could have gotten him on a shorter-term deal, let's say a 2-year deal, maybe $80 million, something in that range, I think the Dodgers would have considered it. I think at least they would have kicked the tires on it and had some hard discussions on how to try to spin that fan narrative because of how great of a player he is and how much he can help this team win. But at the end of the day, what have I been saying since day one? The reason why I didn't feel comfortable offering Carlos Correa a long-term deal is because he's dealt with injury issues. He is a big guy. And look, the bottom line is teams usually don't have success when they sign $300+ million players to 10-year deals. Only 3 of the last 19 players to sign 10-year plus contracts have gone on to win World Series titles. So you do want to maintain that flexibility. You don't want to have all your money tied up into a select few amount of players. But then there's also another side of this too, because the New York Mets are a team that the Dodgers are now going to have to deal with in the postseason. I mean, if you look at this Mets team, they are absolutely stacked. This is the most expensive team in the history of North American sports. Remember the saying about the Dodgers, the best team that money can buy? No, that is about the New York Mets at this point, because Stephen Cohen is spending money like it's growing on trees, like he's spending monopoly money. It is getting out of control, and I'm here for it. I mean, Stephen Cohen, we all knew he was going to spend money. I don't think anyone anticipated it would be to this level. And look, $315 million for Carlos Correa. Is he buying damaged goods, or is he getting a player that can help him win next year? Because I think what the Mets are trying to do, when you consider some of these signings like Max Scherzer last year, Justin Verlander this year, they're trying to win now. They're trying to win their first World Series since 1986, and they'll worry about rebuilding after that. So I think they're in such a win now window in New York that signing Carlos Correa definitely makes some sense if he's able to stay healthy, because you're essentially getting a 5-win player for a $26 million AAV. So at that value, it could make a lot of sense. But yeah, this Mets team, it's absolutely insane how much money they have spent. I mean, they're close to $500 million at this point. Since free agency began, the Mets have signed Carlos Correa for $315 million, Brandon Nimmo for $162 million, Edwin Diaz at $102 million, Justin Verlander, $86.6 million, Kodai Senga, $75 million, Jose Quintana, $26 million, Omar Narvaez, $15 million, Adam Ottavino, $14.5 million, and David Robertson at $10 million. That is a total of $806.1 million in committed salary for Stephen Cohen. So the next big question is, what does this mean for the Mets and Shohei Ohtani? Will this take them out of the Ohtani sweepstakes? I think the answer to that is no. As long as Stephen Cohen owns the New York Mets, we know he's going to throw money at players. And if Shohei Ohtani expresses an interest to sign with the Mets, I think they absolutely will have serious conversations. But at the same token, he does have a lot of his money committed to some of these players out there. And at some point, you just can't sign everyone because those players have to have a role at a particular position. You have Francisco Lindor locked up for a long time at shortstop. Now you have Carlos Correa at third base for a long time. I think you consider the fact that Scherzer and Verlander, they'll be coming off the books. And they do have a lot of money coming off the books after the 2025 season. And if they do want to pay Shohei Ohtani, he's shown that he doesn't really care about paying the luxury tax. Look, next season, the Mets are going to owe $111 million in luxury tax. And their payroll, like I said, is going to be just under $500 million combined. So that's a $384 million payroll before the luxury tax. So we are talking about insane money that we've never seen spent in any sport for any professional league. And we really are in the Stephen Cohen era. He he basically has a punch card out there for big name free agents. He's just getting that punch card. Maybe if he gets a ninth one, he'll get one free. But the Mets are definitely going all the way in, and we'll see if they run in with the Dodgers at some point. Is it going to be a collision course to have these two organizations meet deep in the postseason? I do think it would be great for baseball, but I don't think it's going to totally impact them with Shohei Ohtani. I think if they can get Ohtani, I think Stephen Cohen will break out that checkbook. And I also think that the San Francisco Giants are the same way. But when it comes to Los Angeles Dodgers, I still feel in my heart of hearts that they won't be outbid for Shohei. I think they're definitely going to field a very competitive offer for him. I think he is the name that they have been targeting. Like I said, there's big signings. He is the signing. So it's going to be very competitive. And I also think, too, it's going to be more than just about money for Ohtani. I think it's going to be about winning. I think it's going to be about location. I do firmly believe that he does still want to remain on the West Coast. So I still feel like the Dodgers have about as good of a chance as anyone to bring in Ohtani next season. And we'll see, too, will the Giants try to find a way to trade for him during the year? They really don't have the prospects to get a deal done, in my opinion. And maybe for the Angels, you say to yourself, hey, that would really be a great way to spite the Dodgers by trading him to San Francisco. And would that give San Francisco a better chance to lock him up long term? So that also remains to be seen. But the big takeaway here, though, is the Dodgers won't be facing Carlos Correa for the next 13 years in the division, but you could see him in the postseason, which I think actually would be more important. So the best case scenario would be if Carlos Correa signed with an American League team, and at that point, hey, if you see him in the World Series, you already got the World Series, so you're feeling good about that. And I think it definitely opens up the window for San Francisco to make a run at Ohtani, but I still think that we're still a long way away from that. But hey, at the moment, let's just enjoy this. I think SF stands for season finish, and we haven't even began spring training yet. I think it's sad Farhan up in San Francisco, and they weren't able to get their guy, and really they're in a really bad spot as an organization. So yeah, usually it's LOL Mets. Today it's LOL Giants, but let me know down below in the comment section, what is all your thoughts and reactions to Carlos Correa going to the New York Mets, and the deal with the Giants falling through sent shockwaves throughout all of Major League Baseball. But let me know down below in the comment section. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. For all latest Dodgers news and rumors all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, smash that like button. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.